It's the real Mr. Bates versus the Post Office today as Justice campaigner and former Sub-postmaster Alan Bates takes the stand for the penultimate phase of the Horizon IT inquiry.
So hundreds of sub-postmasters had their lives ruined by allegations of theft and false accounting, including Joe Hamilton, whose shocking story and relentless fight for justice formed a major part of ITV's successful dramatisation of the scandal. We all remember that scandal. We all remember that programme, and it brought to a lot of people's attentions that didn't know about the scandal. And Joe, I'm pleased to say, as you can see, joins us now. So where are you now in your journey to fight for justice and compensation?
Well, I've reached the end of my financial journey as of the 26th of January this year, and I settled short for family reasons because my hubby's older and he was poorly. So, but I have to fight for everyone else because of the fantastic drama. I've got a platform and I have to use it to put pressure to get justice for financial redress for all my colleagues.
So you got to the point where you've at least had enough money to pay off your mortgage so that you can, you know, have the time with your husband that isn't well and enjoy that time. But it took 3 years to get there. And there's so many others that aren't at your stage.
Yeah, I mean, they're starting to... little interims are coming out now, but, you know, to actually be debt-free is one of the most amazing feelings ever. And I just need all my friends to be in the same position that I am. I mean, I'm not rich, but I have no debt. And to me, that's really what life's about.
For the first time ever, you're free of that. It's
interesting because in your case, you had the opportunity, I think, if you wanted, to have taken a settlement, £600,000, but you said, no, I'm going to kind of fight the detail of that. Because when you think about what you went through, having the loss of your income, the conviction, 2 mortgages, having to take part-time cleaning jobs, support from the community, and when the mediation happened, the detailed investigation, they said, actually, that for you, £600,000 wasn't enough to give you fair redress.
Well, yeah, mine started so long ago that the 600,000 wasn't even there. We'd agreed mine, and then that came out.
Right.
It's not much more than that, but it's, you know, it cleared my debt. But yeah, the 600,000 will suit some people who maybe lost a little bit less, but there'll be people that lost an awful lot more.
This is compensation for loss of earnings, maybe over years and years.
Well, £100,000 of my claim was actually my own money that they were giving back, because with all the money I'd given them and the interest over 20 years...
When you were trying to make up shortfalls?
Yeah, the interest that I'd paid and everything, it came to more than £100,000, which, you know, when they say they give you 600,000, £100,000 of that was like my money.
Yes, of course.
So, yeah.
Can I ask you about the question we were just debating with Andrew and Kevin earlier? This new phase of the inquiry is about who really is to blame. Who decided to cover this up? Who knew that the system was flawed, that Fujitsu could get in and change systems, and decided not to tell anybody, and instead to blame the post office, postmasters and mistresses, and to pursue all those convictions. That's what's going to be investigated in this new phase. And is it the senior executives in the post office? Is it the senior executives in Fujitsu? Were there senior civil servants? Who do you think, because you have been so close to this for so many years, where do you think the rot really happened? I mean,
if I'm honest, I think the government has a role to play in it. I think the civil servants must have known at some point. I mean, that they eventually have oversight, and they've enabled everything to be buried and literally in the High Court. You know, why on earth did that happen? It cost over £100 million. When everyone knew, we're looking at documents now that are being leaked out that show everybody knew, you know.
Ed Davey, who's now the leader of the Liberal Democrats, was Post Office Minister at the time. He says, when he was Post Office Minister 10 years ago, or a bit more, that he was lied to and his civil servants were lied to by the Post Office, and therefore they didn't know what was happening. It was the senior executives in Fujitsu or the Post Office.
Well, they would say that, wouldn't they? You know, and I think if you're paid to do a job, just because you ask if everything's all right and they say, oh, everything's fine, you should actually, that shouldn't be it. You should actually find out, especially when the same thing is being brought back time and time again. I mean, we've been banging on doors since 2012, you know, because James Arbuthnot got on board, my MP at the time, and he never gave up, you know, and he was shouting around Westminster decades ago. You know, you'd think if someone like him was still shouting, people would have listened and thought, well, there must be something in this. Should we investigate?
I guess the question is for the civil servants or for ministers, were they just not being dogged in pursuing it enough, or do they actually know and they decide to conceal?
We'll find that out, won't we?
What do you think, though?
I think somebody must have concealed something at some point, you know, and whether then someone else looked and thought, oh, we better conceal that because they shouldn't have done that. You know,
and then the mistake gets compounded.
Yeah.
So Alan Bates goes to the tribunal for the first time today. Obviously, you met him once or twice.
Had dinner with him last night.
Yeah, close campaigners together. Will you be going along today? You're not actually part of this tribunal.
No. I took part. I gave evidence. Can't even remember, about 3 years ago now.
Yes, at the very beginning, wasn't it?
Yeah, or 2 years.
And so, when you were, so you'll be going along to watch him.
And to
How's
support
he
him.
feeling about it? This is his first time. You had dinner together last night. What did you talk about? Was he talking about this? Is he, what, you know, what?
Well, he's so stoic. Nothing phases him. He literally climbs over whatever you put in front of him. He just, it's a means to an end. It's another phase. And I think he'll get a chance to actually tell some things that maybe he hasn't been able to before. You know, we'll find out.
Yeah, we will find. Has he given you a hint of what he might say?
No, he said, I can't tell you. So,
gosh, we're all going to be watching even more, aren't we? And how do you feel about it now? Because through all of this and a terrible injustice, there's also your own life, you know, your family, your friends. Have the stages, as tough as they've been to fight through, and the last 3 years of them to get your money, has it given you any sense of closure, any sense of release?
I can't stop until everyone gets paid. You know, once the GLO group get paid, then the accountability and everything can follow. And the justice, the end of the legal justice journey can follow. But once everyone gets paid, I'll consider that's job done.
It must be so, I mean, strange for you that there you were, like Alan, sub-postmistress, sub-postmaster, kind of getting to a stage of life when you'd be thinking about, you know, how you were going to plan for retirement, and then suddenly a terrible scandal. And you end up being national figures, advocates for many others, accomplished media performers on Good Morning Britain. I mean, this is the second time we've had this conversation. Was this ever what you expected to happen in your life? No.
I had this little shop in Hampshire, Leafy Village, and, you know, everyone loved me. And, you know, it was my vehicle for retirement, really. We expected to be there till I expected to be there till I was about 70. And he would have just joined in and come out of the gardens. But it didn't quite pan out like that. But you just have to take whatever life throws at you, really, and keep going.
And what do you think about the post office now? Not necessarily the big bosses, but that idea of the post office. Do you still fight for little post offices, or do you now feel the whole thing's a mess?
Well, I still use little post offices because they're like me. You know, they were like me. They've got their businesses. They're invested in their business. But I do think the brand is damaged beyond repair. Yeah, it would be lovely to see someone take the whole thing over and run with it as something else, and a proper contract negotiated, because the postmasters are paid nothing. They really are. The wage that they receive, or their remuneration, is awful.
And they're such a vital part of life for so many people.
Yeah,
And when
I mean, mine was...
the village goes, doesn't it?
It was literally kept the shop going.
Yeah.
But it's also the Royal Mail.
Yeah.
The
I mean,
Royal Mail.
It was
hundreds of
then.
years.
They're not part of it now, are
And
they?
we know that, Her Majesty, the former Queen, kind of deeply attached to her role as that figurehead. I mean, it's terrible for a brand to be so damaged. I wonder whether it might be something that Monarch has to have a view about. Maybe the King needs to tell us what should happen next.
Yeah.
Yeah. We'll ask him.
Go and ask
should.
King Charles.
I will.
I'm sure he'd talk to you.
He definitely would.
Now, look, let me just give you the statement from the Post Office. A spokesperson has said to us that they're deeply sorry for the pain which has been suffered by so many people, their families and friends throughout the Horizon IT scandal. They're working, they say, as fast as they can to pay redress, with offers of more than 179 million made to around 2,800 postmasters to date. Your thoughts on that?
They like to shove out figures, and it kind of the figures are quite misleading, but yeah.
And the Department for Business and Trade spokesperson has also said that they're committed to righting the wrong of the past and have introduced legislation to quash all convictions reliant on erroneous Horizon evidence, with the aim of achieving royal assent by July. So nothing can make up for what postmasters have been through. This legislation will clear their names and ensure fast-track compensation payments, which presumably you would welcome.
When we spoke to the Minister a few weeks ago, he said we're doing this as fast as we possibly can. Is the feeling amongst you and the group that the government is now moving fast, or are they still dragging their feet a bit?
Well, I think they're trying to bring in this legislation, but the fact is the group that took them to court are still not being paid. Some people have taken the fixed sum award, but there's still 400 of them that haven't been settled, and they're making it so complicated. Why can't they just get round a table and thrash an amount out? Why does it have to be, paperwork has to be produced?
And everything then goes back onto the very people that have had to have fought so hard to prove their situation. Well, look, we're all going to be watching when Alan Bates takes down. We know you'll be there watching and supporting, but thank you very much for talking to us.
Thank you for coming again,
this
Jo.
morning. Thank you.
Thank you for all you've done as well.